Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. A serial killer who killed 4 Indigenous women in Winnipeg was sentenced on Wednesday to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. Families, friends, and supporters had a chance to read their victim impact statements about how the killings in the spring of 2022 affected them. With more, here's T.R. Wheatley and a warning there may be some distressing details.
Inside, in front of a packed courtroom, there were 12 family victim impact statements that were read. Each had a similar message. They talked about the profound loss and pain that they constantly face, including the deep emotional and psychological trauma. Many talked about sleepless nights and the fear for their own safety after hearing the gruesome details during the trial of how Skibitsky was intentional and racially motivated when he killed Rebecca Contois, Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, and Mashkode Bejiekwe, or Buffalo Woman.
I'm happy that he'll be behind bars, but no, there's never going to be enough done to help me feel any better. What he did to those women, he deserves the exact same thing.
King's Bench Chief Justice Glenn Joyal said he was reluctant to give the sentence, knowing he could only give the mandatory life sentence with no chance of parole for 25 years. He made 4 of them, 1 for each victim. Meanwhile, moments before, Joyal had ordered Skibitsky to stand 3 times before he listened. Joyal asked him anything to say, to which he immediately responded, "Nope." That was the only word he spoke throughout the entire trial. There was also 2 other statements from the broader Indigenous community, one from families, friends, and support workers with other missing and murdered women and girls across the province. Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Kathy Merrick gave an emotional statement that also talked about the broader systemic issues Indigenous women and girls constantly face. Outside, she talked about the general feelings of the people inside.
They called him a monster in the courtroom, and he sat there. He did not blink an eye. No remorse whatsoever for what he did to our women. Cutting them up, throwing them in landfills. From this day forward, that is not going to happen to our women.
Another statement not read aloud in court from the chief of Long Plain First Nation, where Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron are members. The statement said the horrific acts have had a significant effect on the people of Long Plain, and no amount of punishment will essentially be ever enough. Another statement by Skibitsky's ex-wife and read in court by her mother talked about the importance of moving forward together while taking care of one another. Surviving the darkness that Jeremy spread through the terror of his actions will fill each of us with the strength and power of light. Outside, many of the family members were too emotional to talk, but Myron's family took the time to talk about Buffalo Woman.
I had to say something for Buffalo Woman too, because she is part of it. She does have a family, and there was nobody there to talk for her, so I had to say something about her. And Mercedes, we miss her very much. That pain will never go away, never, never.
Yes, now all our focus is on searching the landfill and bringing my sister home.
Saying their closure won't begin until after the Prairie Green landfill search happens and Myron and Harris's remains are recovered, so they can take them home to Long Plain for proper burials. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Now, if you're affected by the ongoing coverage of this trial or the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls issue, the 24/7 MMIWG support line is available. That number is 1-844-413-6649. And coming up in just a few minutes, Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Kathy Merrick will join us to talk more about this. In other news, the Ontario government is providing $2 million in funding to Algoma University in Sault Ste. Marie. It's for the construction of an Indigenous cultural centre, expected to be finished by the fall of 2026. This comes after a $5 million contribution from the federal government announced earlier this month. Mike McDonald has the report.
The
director of Makwa Wakaigan says the cultural center will be a first of its kind, focused on truth-telling, relationship building, respect, and healing.
I think people are really excited to see the possibilities of this as not just a construction project, this is not just an initiative, this is a path forward, and this is the result of a lot of hope, prayer, aspirations, from generations that have come before us.
Attending this week's funding announcement was Shirley Horn, founder of the Children of Shingwauk Alumni Association, which is a residential school survivor group. Horn was also the first chancellor of Algoma University.
This is a journey that I embarked on when I was 7 years old and walked up the steps of then Shingwauk School to become a resident and to be a part of the history that took place in this country. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm here today and to be able to enjoy the very hard work that has been done through the years.
Without the community, the survivor community, their hopes, their aspirations, their prayers, their vision, the foresight that they had, none of this would be possible.
The name Makwa was thought to be an appropriate name given the cultural significance of the bear.
Makwa is a very special name, meaning the bear, which is a symbol of the healing process that Aboriginal people have in their stories and in their lives. We did a lot of ceremony around the name and seeking the name for such an important part of Algoma University.
The structure behind me is on the site where Makwa will be built. It's located next to what is now known as Shingwauk Hall, which is the former Shingwauk Residential School. Mike McDonald, APTN National News, Sault Ste. Marie.
Thanks, Mike. Time to step aside for a quick break. AMC Grand Chief Kathy Merrick will join us to talk about the sentencing of a Winnipeg serial killer. Stick around. Welcome back. As we mentioned, joining us now, the Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, Kathy Merrick, who, Grand Chief, you spoke yesterday. We heard some of your reaction immediately after the sentencing. Now that you've had a little bit more time to process everything, what's been going through your mind?
It was very bittersweet in terms of being able to hear what Justice Glenn Joyal said at the sentencing, and to be able to hear that the serial killer was going to get 25 years, and hopefully that's a lifetime for him. And we can't always be forgiving as a people when it comes to our women and our vulnerable women that are out there. And that I was happy that he did get the 25 years. Should have been more, obviously, but that's beyond our control. So I'm happy that he's going to be in jail for the next 25 years. But that shouldn't stop at that as well, because it sets a clear precedent in terms of that we're no longer going to tolerate violence against our women in the province of Manitoba. And that's something that we have worked hard on to be able to ensure that that we are here and that we have a voice now. And we have a very loud voice here in the province of Manitoba, as well as in Canada. And that's something that we have said, and that's something that we have, that we hold the province accountable to as well.
You mentioned the concurrent life sentences. Chief Justice Joyal even touched on that, and that having to rely really on the parole board years from now, which hasn't always been that reliable, I think we can say as well. But does AMC have any plans to pursue perhaps changes to the law in the future so that anyone who does these types of crimes target Indigenous women racially, that wouldn't be concurrent.
Yes, hopefully that's something that the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs can pursue and can work on within a period of time, so that that it never happens again, and that everybody that's being charged has to be accountable to what they're being charged with. He killed 4 women, and he should be able to charge him for the 4 lives that he took.
Speaking of Chief Joyelle, you know, there were some different things this time around in the way that the courtroom was set up, things that happened in the courtroom, providing time for victim and community impact statements. How do you feel that Chief Justice Joyelle handled this trial?
He handled it really well, for giving an opportunity to myself, as well as through for the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, as well as to the impacted families, and it was very good to be able to say what we needed to say, and that as a leader from the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, I speak on behalf of First Nations, and what happened, it brought an awareness to the long outstanding issue of genocide in this country when it comes to our missing and murdered Indigenous women. And nobody really wants to say that, right? But it's the truth. And that's something that that we need to ensure for our youth, our young people, that they be very much aware, and they be very much be able to speak to the issues that we bring to them, that they learn them, that this should never ever happen again in this good country of ours that we call Canada.
Grand Chief, lastly here, you've been on the front lines of this since the beginning, you know, criticizing police, criticizing Premier Canoe when things weren't getting done. I guess, why has this last few years been so important for you to remain on this, and what's been the impact on yourself?
It's been really hard. And not hard in a way of the work. It's hard work, and for myself as the leader of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, being a woman and being a mother and seeing the impacts that it has on the families, that you just want to be there to be able to comfort them in what they're struggling and what they're going through. So that was really hard for me to be able to do that. But it wasn't hard for me to go to government and to ensure that they be able to fund the landfill search and whatnot. And so we were there, and I'm glad that the Premier did state prior to him becoming Premier that was one of the things that he would do as a Premier, was to search the landfill. And so we did all the work, and we went to Ottawa, we went to the province to be able to ensure that the search was going to happen. So we're there now, and hopefully that the search will happen within a short period of time.
Well, Grand Chief, I know a lot of people have looked to you for your leadership on this, and there's much more work to do ahead in the days to come, but appreciate you taking some time for us here today.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Dennis.
And we're just going to step aside for one last quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Here's a look at your current conditions. 19 in Fredericton, 17 in Halifax. Cloudy and 14 in Kuujjuaq and Nain. 18 in Montreal, 16 in Chibougamau. 15 in Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay, 18 in Ottawa. Cloudy and 18 in Thunder Bay, 13 in Sioux Lookout. Cloudy and 18 in God's Lake, 15 and cloudy skies at Norway House. 18 in Winnipeg, 16 for Dauphin. Showers and 11 in Regina, cloudy and 11 in Saskatoon. 16 in Meadow Lake, smoky, and 15 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, 19 in High Level, 18 in Fort McMurray. 22 in Edmonton, 24 in Lethbridge. Sunny and 22 in Vancouver, 28 under sunny skies at this hour in Kamloops. Showers and 23 in Prince George, cloudy and 21 in Smithers. 16 with showers in Old Crow, Dawson, and Whitehorse. Rain and 17 in Yellowknife. Showers and 19 in Norman Wells. Plus 2 in Sax Harbor, 15 in Pawlatuck. 9 in Chesterfield, 10 in Whale Cove. Plus 1 in Resolute, 7 in Arctic Bay. Earlier this summer, the Peepeekisis Cree Nation, north of Fort Qu'Appelle in Saskatchewan, held its annual summer powwow. It's a time when families come together to celebrate life and their culture in the powwow circle. Former journalist and reporter Brady Lang from the town of Belcaris worked with the leadership of Peepeekisis and shot and produced a 30-minute documentary on the powwow celebration called Dance Your Story. Brady recently spoke to Chris and Achkate.
Brady, thank you for chatting with us. Can you tell us what Dance Your Story is about?
So Dance Your Story was filmed over 5 days. Now, this entire documentary was kind of based around the entire powwow celebration, but we decided to go one step further and take a look back into the history books and see just what made this celebration a celebration. So instead of something saying like, hey, we're going to have this event, we're going to bring everyone in, there's a story behind that. And I went into depth into it with the documentary right off the top there. I don't want to spoil too much, but when it comes to the powwow celebrations out on Peepeekisis, a lot of it did surround a little bit of tourism back in the day. So there is a portion in the documentary about that, just walking through not exactly a history you may have expected, but more along the lines of a history that was taken back by those members on Peepeekisis Cree Nation.
That's interesting. For you yourself, what was it like putting the documentary together, and what did you learn?
It was an amazing experience, and originally my plan for this documentary came from when I was a journalist myself, doing a pack for Indigenous Circle last year. I took a look around at some of the stuff that I had gathered over just one single day. Out at the powwow, I was there, I remember, from 11 in the morning until about midnight, and all I could keep thinking about was I wish I wasn't wasting all this tape. I wish I had another way, another outlet to get all of not just kind of the cinematics, but the story out there. Now, when you're doing a television news pack, 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, it's a lot different than a 33-minute documentary. So in that kind of same wavelength there, I was really trying to figure out how to make this story move, make this story kind of go through and really tell something special versus what just went out there and happened, right? So I was able to speak to a lot of the Peepeekisis members, people that still live there, people that have since left, that sort of thing. But one of the biggest things that I saw throughout the entire 5 days was just the amount of community pride that was out there, and just how proud everyone was of putting on this powwow and this celebration, and honestly just simply welcoming people to the community.
Yeah, no, that's great. Every time I'm out there, Peepeekisis is such a welcoming community. You're from the town of Belcaris. You grew up with many of the people from Peepeekisis and the other surrounding First Nations there. What is your message to people who may not have experienced the powwow yet?
Honestly, if you haven't experienced it, just go. And that sounds so weird. In our industry, Creason, there's a lot of yeses. You go out and you do it, right? And if you are on the fence, if you're thinking about it, just do it. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be a worse person over it, right? At the same breath, when you're looking at a powwow, there are a lot of intricacies that you may not have expected, but go and learn. That's how people grow. That's how we as a society grow, is learning more about what other cultures are celebrating, what other people are celebrating, and just being there for that duration. It put me in a different perspective. And when I sat down to kind of take a look at everything that I had filmed, that I had spoken to people over the last little bit about, it was really nice to see that there was almost an organic story that came out of that, you know, I really didn't need to write. It was the people out there that were writing their own story, and it made it easy on me, at least.
Yeah, no, that's great. What's next for you, Brady? And are we going to see any similar documentaries from you in the near future?
Well, that certainly is the hope. I'm really trying to branch out there. Going into something like documentaries, it's not really up my wheelhouse. I was a journalist for 10 years. I told a lot of stories, but telling a story is an art form, and when you put it down to 2 minutes, that's an art form in itself. But when you're looking at something that's a little bit more long, you know, half an hour, an hour long, it's a little bit different. There's more work that needs to be put in. I know Nelson Bird, the one thing that he told me one of the first times I walked into his office was, if you want to do something longer, make sure you have the B-roll to back it, right? So something along the lines of all the cinematography that went into dancing, or Dance Your Story. Yeah. That was the big thing with me, was just telling that story from that visual aspect. But in terms of documentary making into the future, I want to branch out and do a little bit of everything. If that means more work on Indigenous communities, I am super happy. My entire, I don't want to say my entire life, but when you're speaking about Balcarres, there was always kind of that itch for me to do Indigenous news. It was more of a deeper understanding, and more of a understanding of keeping it relevant and making sure that you're speaking not a different language, but a relevant language that everyone can understand. Sometimes that's not as easy as it sounds, but at the same time, being able to kind of explain, walk through things, and just have a little bit of patience and be able to build, for lack of a better term, trust, right? When people trust you, they're more willing to speak to you. And when it comes to documentary making, I'm here for all of it. And if anyone else out there is interested in speaking to me, just reach out to me. I'm all over social media.
Awesome. And for our viewers, you can watch the documentary on YouTube by typing in Dance Your Story, Bipixi's Cree Nation 2024 Powwow, or B Lang Media. Brady, thank you for chatting with us.
Thank you so much, Creason.
Good stuff. Looks like a good documentary. Well, that is all the time we have for your first look at the day's news. For much more on anything you've seen here and other stories, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And I will be back here with a look at the day's news tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.